Good morning students, Sairam. In today's mathematics session, we are going to start a new chapter, that is chapter number 9, data handling. In today's session, we are going to learn what are bar graphs, how to do the interpretation of the bar graph or how to study a bar graph, and also we will solve the problems of exercise 9.3. So what is a bar graph? Children, a bar graph means representing data visually by drawing bars of uniform width and with different lengths. The bars can be drawn horizontally or vertically with equal spacing between them, and each bar represents a given number. Such a representation of the data is known as a bar diagram or a bar graph. Some more important points about a bar graph. A bar graph has two axes, the x-axis which is the horizontal one and the y-axis which is vertical axis. The length of the bars gives the required information about the data. Looking at the bar graph, we can compare the different values and answer the different questions quite easily, the related questions quite easily. To represent large numbers on a bar graph, we choose appropriate scale. Now, interpretation of a bar graph. To study a bar graph, how to study a bar graph, we will see a few examples. Here is an example of a bar graph which shows the birthdays of students in a year. The number of students is taken along the y-axis and the months number, the names of months taken along the x-axis. Now, in this bar graph, we can easily know, looking at the bars, that the maximum number of students have their birthdays in the month of June, which is shown by the longest bar. 10 students have their birthdays in the month of June. Similarly, we can understand the month where the minimum number of students have the birthdays, which is shown by the shortest bar. It is the month of August. Also, the equal bars in the month of May and October tell us that equal number of students have their birthdays in the month of May and October. Let us see a few more examples to understand how to study a bar graph. Here is a bar graph which shows the vehicular movement through a crossing through the crossing every hour from morning 6 to noon 12. So, by looking at the bars in this bar graph, we can understand when is the vehicular traffic maximum in the morning, during which time interval, and when is the traffic minimum. The unit length here is taken as 1 unit is equal to 100 vehicles. So, we can answer many questions regarding the traffic. We can answer that maximum traffic is shown by the longest bar, that means 1200 vehicles for the time interval 7 to 8 am, and the minimum traffic is shown by the smallest bar, that means 100 vehicles for the time interval 6 to 7 am. The total traffic during the two peak hours, that means 8 to 10 am, is 1000 plus 900, that is 1900 vehicles. Let us look at one more example here. Read the adjoining bar graph showing the number of students in a particular class of a school. Answer the following questions. So, here we have the number of students in a particular class of a school. This is a vertical bar graph. Along the y-axis, we have taken the number of students and the years along the x-axis. Now, 1 unit length here is equal to 10 students. Now let's answer the questions. So what is the scale of this graph? The scale is 1 unit length equals 10 students. How many new students are added every year? The number of students in the year 2000 is 30. By looking at the graphs only we can understand the number of students in the year 2000 is 30, in 2001 it is 40, 2002 it is 50 and 2003 it is 60. So 10 new students are added every year. Now question B, how many, question number C, is the number of students in 2003 twice that in the year 2000? Yes, because the number of students in the year 2000 is 30, whereas the number of students in the year 2003 is 60. That means 60 is equal to twice 2 times 30, isn't it? So the number of students in 2003 is twice as was in 2000. So such questions can be answered by looking at the bar graph. Now children, let us start this, solving the problems of exercise 9.3. Question number 1. Here the bar graph shows the amount of wheat purchased by the government during the year 1998 to 2002. Read the bar graph and write your observation in which year was. We have to answer the question looking at the bar graph. Here the bar graph is a vertical bar graph. The wheat in 1000 tons is taken along the y axis and the years are taken along the x axis. Here 1 unit length is taken as 5000 tons. Now when was the wheat production maximum? The highest bar was in 2002, isn't it? So the maximum wheat production was in 2002. Question number B, when was the wheat production minimum? We can see the lowest bar was in 1998. So the lowest wheat production was in the year 1998. Now question number 2, exercise 9.3. Observe this bar graph which is showing the sale of shirts in a ready-made shop from Monday to Saturday. Now answer the following questions. Children, this is a horizontal bar graph. So the number of shirts is taken along the x axis and the days are taken along the y axis. The bars will be drawn horizontally. Now here 1 unit length represents 5 shirts. We have to mention the scale always in the bar graph. So 1 unit length here represents 5 shirts. Now let us answer the questions related to this bar graph. What information does the above bar graph give? Gives this bar graph tells us the number of shirts that are sold from Monday to Saturday, isn't it? So the bar graph, it tells us how many shirts were sold from Monday to Saturday. Question B, what is the scale chosen on the horizontal line representing the number of shirts? So what is the scale chosen here? It is 1 unit length is equal to 5 shirts. Then question C, on which day were the maximum number of shirts sold? How many shirts were sold on that day? So on which day maximum number of shirts sold? The highest bar was on Saturday. So the maximum number of shirts were sold on Saturday. And what is the number of shirts sold on Saturday? It is 60. Question D, on which day were minimum number of shirts sold? The smallest bar is on Tuesday, isn't it? So the minimum number of shirts were sold on Tuesday. Next, question E, how many shirts were sold on Thursday. So we can look at the bar and we can understand how many shirts were sold on Thursday. The number of shirts sold on Thursday were 35. Now we have question number 3. Observe this bar graph which shows the marks obtained by Aziz in half yearly examination in different subjects. Answer the given questions. So here the marks obtained by Aziz is given along the y axis and the subjects along the x axis. Now 1 unit length here, it tells that 1 unit length is equal to 10 marks. Now let us answer the questions related to this bar graph. What information does the bar graph give? This graph shows marks obtained by Aziz in different subjects. Now question B, name the subject in which Aziz scored maximum marks. So the highest bar, we can see the highest bar is in Hindi. So he has scored the maximum marks in Hindi. Next question, C, name the subject in which he has scored minimum marks. The lowest bar is social studies. So he has scored minimum marks in social studies. Question D, state the name of the subjects and the marks obtained in each of them. So the marks scored in Hindi 80, the marks in English 60, the marks in mathematics 70, marks in science 50 and marks in social studies 40. This we can understand by looking at the graph. So with this question we come to the end of exercise 9.3. We will do the next topic in our next class. Thank you.